Welcome back. I'm Michael. You are listening to The Michael Dresser Show. How to go from lunch bag carrying wage worm to your own voice. W. Laney with us. Growing up in poverty, the stepson of an abusive migrant worker, he turned his life around to become a successful entrepreneur and an inventor. He's not only built his own business, but also helped people across the country launch their own successful companies. He's the author of A Self-Administered Attitude Transplant, Eliminates Unemployment or Underemployment, Provides an Escape from a Dead-End Job, and or Promotes Successful Business Ownership. WL, hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael. It's good to be with you today.
Oh, and thank you so much for being here. You know, there are so many people who, especially in today's world, if they get knocked down, they stay there because they're afraid to get back up again. But that's really not how the game works, is it?
Absolutely not. The key to success is not that you got knocked down. The key to success is that you got back up again.
Yeah, and let's add one thing to that. You got back up again and you learned something that you didn't know before.
That is absolutely correct. And you know, Michael, one of the things that I like that's even better than learning by my mistakes is learning by the mistakes of others.
Oh, yeah.
If I can observe other people's mistakes and learn from those so I don't have to go through it and still get the advantage, that's better yet.
Yeah, you know, when it really comes down to it, there's an old rule that I learned to live by many years ago, and that rule is this. A good leader knows when to be a follower, and a good teacher knows when to be a student. I change hats probably 4 or 5 times a week, and I think that's the key. If you ever want to be successful, you got to know when to make that switch.
I couldn't agree more. That's a good thought for people to understand that you can't always be everything to meet every situation.
Okay, and now all of us have something within us. Not everybody is going to be a successful entrepreneur, but all of us have that certain special something within us that we usually end up holding back because we're afraid, we're hesitant to take that first step and let it out. Where is it? What's that first step that we can take to move towards being a successful person in life?
I think, Michael, that the term success is many times misused and certainly misunderstood. Success isn't necessarily measured in dollars. It's not measured in a lot of other things. We've talked about it a lot in our office to really define what success is. One of the things that we like to say is that the opposite of success is not failure. The opposite of success really is just being average or uninspiring.
Sure.
Let's talk about a marital relationship, if you want to, for just a moment. What is a successful marriage? It certainly is more than just staying married for 41 years like I have, but it's having a marriage that is enough above average that it is an inspiration to other people.
Well,
okay, so I would describe it this way, that success is being more than the average to the point that it is inspiring to the other people around you.
Let me give you a definition of success, and I have found this over the years. Success is, if I want to destroy a relationship, then if I do it, I'm successful. If I want to sleep in for the day and I can do it, I'm successful. If I want to become a tremendously exposed entrepreneur and I do it, I'm successful. Because you were right up front. Success is so many things to so many different people, but realistically, I really believe we have to define what that is, and then then you set the solution of however you're going to go about getting whatever you want on top of that, because we all look at things so differently, and most of us have no idea what success really is because we don't have that ability, or I won't say the roadmap, better word, the roadmap to dig down and see.
Or the ability to set the goal. I sometimes say that one of the big problems that our country has today is that we've got too many people that are on an employment train ride that's going nowhere. I've got a job, yes, but am I happy in my job? No. Is it taking me where I want to go? Am I going to be able to retire successfully? I've read statistics that say that only 10% of the American population is able to retire at age 65 without being totally dependent on Social Security and family for their living.
Yeah, you know what success is? This is success. Somebody once said to me, "What are you going to do when you retire?" And then I said, "What do you mean retire? I don't work." if you love what you do, there's no reason to retire. But that's the point. If you live your life and you get to that 65 and you don't have enough income to be able to satisfy the monthly demands, you got to keep working. There's no question about that. There's ways around that. But the key is to be able to take a look at the opportunities, not that you see, that you don't know that they're out there. And who do you go to? You go to guys like yourself. Been there, done that, and take a look at some of the things that you've done. There are so many opportunities out there that we just don't take a look at, we don't see, because we're not willing to look.
Yeah, I think it was Henry Ford that said most of us don't recognize opportunity because it comes dressed in overalls.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I like to talk about is how to turn your obstacle into success or opportunity. Because most obstacles, and really the bigger the obstacle, the bigger the opportunity to have a huge success from it by overcoming that obstacle.
Yeah, see, and in my life, if somebody said, "Here's what the problem is," first thing out of my mouth is, "Great. Now I know which direction to take." Because if the problem wasn't there, you wouldn't know which direction to take to be whatever successful means to you.
Right, and the other thing is, most of us don't even recognize that we are living below our potential. I did a very non-scientific study in the last few weeks, and everybody that I talked to has a positive mental attitude, and that includes some of the most negative people I've ever seen. But if you talk to them, they say, "Oh yes, I have a positive mental attitude. I'm in great shape. I don't need an attitude transplant. Everything is going just fine."
Now, I got to tell you, the White House is going to probably hide you. I'm on your side, because when you really come down to it, unemployment, the dependency, the rest of it, and all those things, the entitlement programs that are causing the major problems that we are having today, doesn't have to be. Quote unquote, go from carrying a lunch bag to carrying, a wage worm to being your own boss. Okay, that's really where it comes down to. If you want to become your own boss, we still live in that country. If you want to do it, especially in today's world with a computer at your kitchen table, you can do anything you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, when did Facebook first get started? Go back 10 years and imagine that we would have somebody starting out in their college dorm room that would be worth, even after a screwed up IPO, be worth $10 billion.
Absolutely. But also too, if they're, you can set a business up at your own house on your computer. You don't have to have inventory anymore. As a matter of fact, anybody who orders something and come from factory direct or whatever, and all you are is that middleman, and you're marketing it, you're selling it, and somebody else is delivering, and you're collecting the money. Right,
and that's what we've helped dozens of people across the nation do, Michael. Is we offer a complete business package. We set people up in a sales and service business. It's less than $30,000. They can go out and make $100,000.
Sure.
Now, from my perspective, that's a whole lot better than sitting at home collecting unemployment.
Oh, by the way, from a lot of people's perspective, it is. And there are so many people sitting down and collecting unemployment because once they get back out there, they're making more on unemployment than they are on the job. So what's the sense of going back to work?
And I saw this with a friend, and this has been almost 40 years ago, Michael. The guy was working for a meat packaging plant as a meat cutter. Got laid off. The only job he could find was as a meat cutter at the local grocery store. He could not, Michael, take the job because he could not feed his family on the wages from that job. He made more money on unemployment and food stamps than he could going out and working.
You know what I think is kind of hysterical today? They want to push the minimum wage up to $9 an hour. And I go back, I don't want to admit this, but I'll tell you, but don't tell anybody. My very first job
nobody's listening, right?
Yeah, don't tell anybody.
This is just between you and me.
That's it. Yes. Oh, you got it good. $1.65 an hour. That's what was my very first job. It was $1.65 an hour. And I go, of course, things were a lot less expensive in those days. I smoked in those days. I don't want to get off track here, but it has to do with what we're talking about. Cigarettes were 18 cents a pack. I walked into the grocery store the other night, and I was standing there, not at the counter, but at the service desk, and I looked behind the woman I was talking to, $87 a pack for cigarettes. And I thought, how do you live in this world if you're just getting minimum wage? There's got to be something more, which leads us to what you're offering.
The point is, Michael, that woman, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and tell you she is sacrificing her children's well-being to smoke those cigarettes.
Yeah, think about that. 2 cartons a week.
You read in your introduction to me that I was raised in an abusive alcoholic's home. I recall one time I asked my mother, I said, we don't have clothing, I don't have shoes, we don't have food to eat half the time, but you always have your beer. Why? And I'll never forget what she said. She said, I have to have some kind of joy.
Yeah.
Now, how messed up do you have to be that you will take the food off of the table from in front of your children, make them go to school in 3 feet of snow with holes in the soles of their shoes so that you can have a beer?
Yep, no, got it, loud and clear. I'm just doing some math here for a minute. In today's world, let me see just real quickly, 74, 8, 12, 15, 4. Okay, if you were smoking today and you smoked 2 cartons of cigarettes a week, it would cost you over $5,000 a year just for cigarettes. 4 years is $20,000 for cigarettes.
Okay, first off, though, you've got to understand that cigarette is as much or more addicting than heroin.
Oh yeah.
So the individual needs more than a lecture to give up the cigarettes.
Well, I don't know. At $20,000 over 4 years, if I realized that, I'd have to sit and think about that.
Yeah, but here's the thing that in my program that I teach on how to give yourself a attitude transplant, that is a great illustration of why that is so important, because like you said earlier, we all have the good within us.
Sure.
We also have the negative attitudes within us. We have to focus on building and strengthening the positive power attitudes that are going to make a change in our life, make us more successful, help us live up to our potential rather than just floating along in mediocrity.
Sure. And WL, what I'm hearing you say, it's a transition in value. The value for being successful is better than the value for going back to mediocrity. I want to go back to your mom for a minute. If you're a mom who would have had the love and the attention and the focus on her that she really wanted to have and she deserved to have, she wouldn't be having the beer.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
couldn't agree more. And that's a cycle that has to be broken. It doesn't just stop. It has to be broken. There has to be a positive move away from that dependency, because that's what she had a dependency on the alcohol.
Sure, but there was a value. And that's where I want to go back to the core of what you're offering. It's a transition in value. When the value for being successful is greater than the value for not being successful, you move in the direction of success. That's where the key is, and I think that's where most people have the problem. Why don't they have the value for it? Is because they don't know the first step to take. The roadmap isn't there. That's right.
And I have a friend that gave up smoking a number of years ago, and he did it through going through one of Tony Robbins' programs. He worked 30 days. He worked through that particular program, and I apologize, I don't know the name of this specific program, but he worked his way through it for 30 days. By the end of the 30 days, he was so disgusted with what he was doing through the cigarettes, the money, the health, all those things, that he smoked his last cigarette on the 30th day and hasn't smoked since.
Wonderful. Now, by the way, I've never met Tony Robbins. I've had him as a guest on the show before, but from what I understand, Tony Robbins is 6'7", and when he says don't, you say yes, sir.
Don't you wish you could just get in front of everybody? I'm 6'1", and over 200 pounds. I can command a little presence too.
Good.
But the bottom line is, it has to come from within.
Oh, sure.
You have to make a decision. You have to become aware that the life you're living does not have to be this way. You do not have to meander through life average. You can be better than average in any and all areas of your life if you will just make the decision to do so and then take the necessary steps.
Absolutely. No question about it. WL, we're just about out of time. Do you have a website?
Oh, we just got started,
Michael. I know. I could talk to you all night long. Let me ask you this. Do you have a website where we can find you and the book?
Yes. Go to WLLaney.com.
Okay. Now, by the way, not only the book, can we also find the program that you're offering?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
I've got links on my website for the business opportunity, which, by the way, is just amazing. But the book is there. Other programs that we offer are there. It's WLLaney.com.
Wonderful. Hey, by the way, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me, Michael. Have a great afternoon.
Oh, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.